Hello, chapter number 6 is coarse grain parallelism. In previous chapter, the transformation was targeted to vector and superscalar architecture. So basically, there is only one machine, a single machine was there, which might be having a vector architecture or superscalar architecture. And whenever you have to execute a program within that machine, you want to parallelize the thing. So basic thing is, if single machine is there and if you have to execute the thing in parallel, then you will always look for fine grain parallelism. Okay, so at smaller level you would like to parallelize. Maybe you would like to parallelize one instruction with another instruction, or one sub instruction with another instruction. Okay, so a smaller part would be vectorized. Now in this lecture, our target machines are SMP machine, which are also known as symmetric multiprocessor machine. So multiprocessor machine is there. So might be you'll be having a single memory, and single memory is connected to multiple processor, maybe of same capability. So when you have multiple processor, then we have to always look for the coarse grain parallelism. So granularity would be the difference between these two types of machine. Okay, so what is SMP machine? You just look at this figure. This is one of the architecture of SMP machine. So like memory is there, a common memory is there, and through bus number of processors are connected, and these processors are independent processors. Okay, so these processors are working independently. So these processes may run the separate processes, different processes altogether. So if processor P1 is executing one process, P2 is executing some other process, P3 might be executing some other process, like that. So here in this kind of architecture, starting of process and synchronization between them is very expensive, because these processors are different processors. So whenever you have to start a process, or if you want to synchronize, if you want to you want to do some activity on P1 which is in sync with P2, maybe you are waiting for some instruction which is to be executed by P2, and then only you will going to start the process in P1. So this type of synchronization is more costly in this type of architecture. So we always try to minimize the number of new processes and the number of synchronization in this type of machine. Okay, so that is the reason why the smaller instruction, one instruction is not parallelized with other instruction. That happens in fine grained parallelism. Okay, so here for example, if I have to give very simple example, then if I have a loop and I want to execute that loop in parallel, then what I will do is I will parallelize first iteration of the loop by the second iteration. Might be second iteration would be parallelized by third iteration. Third iteration will be executed in parallel with the fourth iteration, and each instruction may have number of instruction. It may be 4 instruction, 5 instruction, 10 instruction, like this. Okay, so what is the meaning? That here the granularity is increased. Okay, so in previous example, innermost loop we always target for parallelization. So in that, one instruction of a iteration is parallelized with another instruction of the same iteration. Okay, one iteration is not parallelized with another iteration. Okay, I hope you have understood the difference between fine grain and coarse grain. So synchronization is what this is also here. Although you have studied it many times, especially in operating system or in computer architecture, you have studied that. So synchronization means um, it is like a barrier. So if you want that some common operation is to be done at a time, okay, so there are number of example might be a say uh, some operation requires some data, okay, more number of data. Maybe say here we can take a simple example of if I have to execute one instruction, I need two data, and these two data are calculated by two different processes which are executing in parallel. Okay, so I can execute the instruction which requires two data only after completing the first process and the second process. Okay, now if these two processes are executing in parallel, they are independent of each other. Okay, so one of them would execute or would complete its execution before another. So what will happen if one completes execution before the second one? Then the control have to wait for the completion of the second instruction. Okay, so once second instruction also completes, then only you can execute the operation which requires the both data. So here synchronization is like a barrier. So it is actually tries to slow down the execution process. So whenever you have more number of synchronization required for execution of a program, then it will slow down the process. The execution speed would always be reduced. Okay, so this can be synchronization can be represented as a wall. Okay, so if you have to go from one position to another position, in between that two position, if you have a number of walls, then obviously your speed would reduce because you have to jump over the wall every time. Okay, so that will reduce that will increase the time, okay, for reaching from one position to another position. Okay, similarly, if you have number of synchronization in a program, okay, more number of times you need synchronization, then that will always increase the time requirement, because each synchronization would act as a wall and that you have to jump over. Okay, so this was a general thing and you have studied it many times. Now we'll come to the first uh, technique uh, for single loop. So here also the number of techniques, optimization techniques are there, and these techniques are divided basically into uh, two types, single loop and nested loop. So first, for simplicity, we are taking the most simple optimization technique under the single loop category, and this technique is known as privatization. Okay, so we have studied scalar expansion in fine grain parallelism. So analogous to that scalar expansion technique, here we have a privatization technique. Okay, so this privatization and scalar expansion both are used in same type of program. Okay, but here the machine is different, requirement is different. Scalar expansion is applied when you want fine grain parallelism, and privatization is applied when you want coarse grain parallelism. Okay, so same example which we have used in scalar expansion is given here, which is swapping two vector variable with the use of one scalar variable. So you see this program, three instructions are there, and if you have to swap, then you are using a temporary variable t, scalar variable t, and due to this you know that there would be a number of dependence. Okay, number of loop independent dependence, true dependence, anti dependencies are there. We have already drawn the dependence diagram while discussing scalar expansion. So same example is there, same number of dependencies are there. Okay, now if you have to parallelize this program by using coarse grain parallelism, then how can we proceed, that we are going to see. So when if this program I have to execute in parallel by using coarse grain. So coarse grain means one, here if I want to parallelize this loop on I, then I want that first iteration is to be executed in parallel with the second iteration. Second would be executed in uh, parallel with the third iteration. So for example, in a hypothetical situation, if I am having a n number of processes, okay, in this example, if I am having n number of processors available in my machine with single memory, then what I will do is, ideally I would allot one iteration to every processor. So my first processor will execute first iteration, second processor will execute second iteration, third processor will execute third iteration, nth processor will execute nth iteration. So all iteration would be executing independently. So for example, if you have to execute one iteration, you know that one iteration is having 3 instruction. So if it needs say 3 microsecond, okay, for executing one iteration, then for executing nth iteration in sequential machine, you require 3 into n number of microsecond. Okay, so if you are executing in parallel architecture where I am having n number of processor, then all this iteration can be executed in only 3 microsecond. Okay, so that is the advantage here if I am having um, n number of processor. Okay, so each processor can execute one iteration of this loop. Okay, now this will be possible, one processor will execute one iteration if and only if there are no loop carried dependence. Loop carried dependence means what? Source is in one iteration, sink is in another iteration. Okay, so what you want, that the iteration which is having sink must be executed only after completion of the iteration which is having source. Now when each iteration is executing by a different processor which are independent processor, then you cannot control their execution order. Once you have given one iteration to one processor, then you cannot have any mechanism to find whether the first iteration is executed first or second iteration is executing first. Okay, so all iteration would be executed will be executing in independent manner. Okay, so if you have to execute this, then there should not be any loop carried dependence. Okay, there can be any loop independent dependence, because then these three instruction s1 s2 and s3 are going to execute in sequence within that processor, because one single processor is executing complete iteration. So that processor will execute these three instruction in sequence only. So first s1 will execute, then s2 will, then s3 will execute. So relative order of s1 and s2 s3 will remain same within the iteration. So if you have loop independent dependence, like for example here you have dependence from s1 to s2 due to a of I, so that would be maintained. Okay, so for that you need not to worry, but there should not be any loop carried dependence. Now here if you see carefully, then loop carried dependency is only because of the scalar variable t. Okay, so the solution is, here what we can do is we can execute this loop in parallel, and that is indicated by this new keyword parallel. This indicates that this is a coarse grained parallelism where each iteration is executing independently. That is the meaning of the keyword parallel here. So parallel do loop, this is not a normal do loop. Okay, this is a parallel do loop. What is difference between parallel do loop and normal do loop? Meaning of parallel do loop is, here in this do loop every iteration will be executing independently. Okay, so in every parallel loop you can define some private variable. So if you are defining any private variable, then what does it mean? That that variable which is defined private is having scope in only that iteration. Okay, so its effect is similar to the vector operation, vector variable. So if you are saying that here in this loop you have one private variable t, it means that you are having n number of t variable for every processor or for every iteration. So every iteration will have its own variable t. So the variable t which is used in first iteration is having no relation with the variable t of the second iteration. Variable t of second iteration is not having any relation with variable t of the third iteration. Okay, so what does it mean? That every iteration is having its own private variable t. Okay, and scope of this variable t is within that iteration only. So when iteration starts, this t comes into existence. When this loop iteration ends, then that scope of this t also um, will be dead. Okay, so if you have this private variable t, so every iteration is having their own independent variable t, so then there is no question of any loop carried dependence, because variable t of one iteration is different than variable t of the another iteration. Okay, so with the help of this private variable, we can execute this loop which is having loop carried dependence uh, by using the parallel machine which is having number of processors. So this technique is known as privatization. Now scalar variable x in a loop is said to be privatizable if every path from the loop entry to use of x inside the loop passes through a definition of x. So every variable cannot be privatized. Okay, so what is the condition for finding out whether you can privatize a variable x or not? This is the definition here which is given. Okay, so for uh, checking whether every path from loop entry to every use of x is going through definition or not, for that you have to do data flow analysis. So data flow equation would be used, and these are similar to what we have used in chapter number 3. And here these are not that important to find uh, by using the data flow problem, but you should remember that how what is privatization and how privatization allow us to implement coarse grain parallelism. So like scalar variable, we can also privatize array variable. So this is another example which demonstrate the privatization of array variable. So this is it.